Welcome to today's presentation, Let the Light Shine Through. My name is Israel Becker. I'm the rabbi of Congregation Chafetz Chaim here in Tucson, Arizona, and the director of the Southwest Torah Institute. We're excited that you are joining us today. I wanted to begin by thanking all those sponsors and patrons whose support made this video possible. We hope you enjoy the presentation, and we hope that your lives are enriched by it. In the city of Petach Tikva, there is a synagogue. It's called the Great Synagogue of Petach Tikva. It's over 100 years old. There was a Jew who was totally dedicated to making sure that everything ran right in the synagogue. People were helped through the synagogue. He set up classes, made sure that all the services ran properly. He was totally dedicated to the Jewish community. When he passed away, a rabbi came to the house for Shiva, and he questioned the family. "I knew your father," he said. "He wasn't a learned man. He did not have much of a background. What was it? What gave him the strength, the drive to be so sharing, to be so giving, to be so caring, to be so dedicated?" And the oldest son responded, "I too had that question, and I asked my father, and he told me about what happened to him when he was a young boy of 10 years old. He was born in Austria. At the age of 10, his father felt that it was necessary to send his son, my father, away to Germany. Arrangements were made. One dark night, father and son are at the train station, each one knowing that this could very well be the last time in their lives that they see each other. No words were spoken. Finally, they could see the lights of the train approaching, and the train stopped. And the father carried his son onto the train and said to him, "Sei a guter Yid, be a good Jew." As the train started pulling away, my father's father started running after the train, and he called out again to my father, "Sei a guter Yid, be a good Jew." And the train would speed up even more, and my grandfather ran faster and tried to keep up with the train and focused his eyes on my father and said, "Sei a guter Yid, be a good Jew." And my father is watching this. And as the train speeds up and my grandfather is running and screaming, "Sei a guter Yid," my father saw my grandfather fall flat down on the platform. That was the last time my father saw his father. The memory of the passion of his father calling out to him, "Sei a guter Yid, be a good Jew," stayed with him his entire life. And that's what drove him, guided him to be the dedicated, giving, sharing, and loving Jew that he was. We continue to be inspired to this very day by the strength, perseverance, faith, and inspiration of all the generations who preceded us. One of the very, very important aspects of their inspiration is spiritual optimism. Every generation believed firmly in the rebuilding of the Holy Temple, the restoration of Jerusalem, and no matter how dark the world appeared around them, they knew in the depths of their hearts that God will follow through with his promise and bring the Jewish people home, rebuild the temple. As a matter of fact, this is symbolized by the Seder plate. We remember the past, what happened to us in Egypt, but we look forward with yearning and anticipation for the future. That's the shank bone and the egg, which symbolize the service in the Holy Temple. When our ancestors prayed daily, they yearned and expressed their belief in the rebuilding of Jerusalem. When we ate a meal, when they thanked God, benching after the meal, Uvarei Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, rebuild Jerusalem. It was this strength and this belief in the future, this optimism that kept our ancestors going and that keeps us going. Our rabbis tell us that there was a large number of Jews that did not make it out of Egypt. They didn't want to go. They didn't believe in the future. They didn't believe in a new glorious connection to God. And our rabbis tell us they perished. Do you know when? During the plague of darkness. Because for the Jew, if there's no future, then survival is impossible. The dark world around us would be totally consuming. Sometimes we feel that the world around us is dark. We all have cell phones. We're connected to the world, to all of the media instantaneously. And every day, when we connect to the news, the question is, how bad are things going to be today? We are so overwhelmed by the world around us. How do we find joy? How do we find light? How do we find pleasure in a world that sometimes seems so dismal? I'd like to take us back to one of the most monumental events in our history, the splitting of the sea. We sang a song of thanks to God, and we pointed and said, Zeh Keli v'Anveyu, this is my God, and I will glorify him. This is my God. The Talmud asks, what does that mean? The Talmud explains. This is my God. I will glorify him. I will strive to be like him. God is compassionate, and I will be compassionate. God is loving, and I will be loving. The great mentor, teacher, Rabbi Nosson Tzvi Finkel, the Alter of Slobodka, my teacher's teacher's teacher, analyzed this section of the Talmud. Let's look at it. They pointed to God. This is my God. The Alter asks, how do you point to God? You can't see God. How do you say, this is my God? What does that mean? And the Talmud answers the question. We can see God, we can feel God, we can connect to God if we recognize God's compassion, God's unending love, and we strive to emulate those character traits within ourselves. Then we connect to God, and not only connect to God, but then we can say, this is my God. I see God. I feel the presence of God. In a world where there's so much confusion, so much turmoil around us, let's focus on what is not around us, but what's inside us. This ability to emulate God and to open the doors of our connection to God through emulating Him. And the more we emulate God, the more we will know Him. For the Jew, caring, loving, sharing, compassion, love, tolerance is a spiritual experience. And the doorway to this spiritual experience is open to everyone. If you stop and focus on God's compassion and God's love and increase your sharing, your giving, your loving, your tolerance, because you're emulating God, you are propelling what might be considered mundane into an amazing, uplifting spiritual experience that not only connects us to God, but helps us to see God, to feel God, to experience God in every aspect of our lives. Later on, Moses asks God, Hareini na es kvodecha. Show me your glory. God, I'd like to get to know you better. And God says, Ani a'avir kol tuvi al ponecha. I shall make all my goodness pass before you, and I shall call out with the name of God before you. So God was telling Moses, okay, you're going to be standing in the cleft of a rock. I will pass by. I will call out. And these are the words that God called out to Moses. Hashem, Hashem, God, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abundant in kindness and truth, perseverer of kindness for thousands of generations, forgiver of iniquity, willful sin and error, and who cleanses. Moses asked, God, I'd like to get to know you. And God's response were these stirring words. These are known as the Yud Gimel Midos, the 13 attributes of God's kindness. And our rabbis tell us this is the key to prayer. If we're in trouble, we want to connect to God, focus on these words. Emulate God. Take these character traits and bring them into your life. And then you will know God. Then you will be connected to God. It's actually fascinating, points out the Alter Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel. Moses already had said by the splitting of the sea, "This is my God and I will glorify him." He already knew this concept that you connect to God by emulating him. And yet he asked God, "Show me more. Show me again." Because Moses needed to hear it again. Because Moses knew and understood that kindness and compassion and love have no limit. And the more that we strive to connect and to emulate God, the more we will enrich our lives and beautify the lives of all around us. One of the great commentaries, the Maharsha in the 1400s, he explains those beautiful words, Zeh Keli V'Amvehu, this is my God and I will glorify him. He says, explains it, I will adorn myself with them. You buy a nice suit, you buy a beautiful dress, you adorn yourself, beautiful jewelry. Emulating God is like adorning yourself by acting kindly. It's beautifying ourselves in every aspect of our lives. Yes, let the light shine through. The world is in turmoil around us. That's no question. But inside us, we can feel peace. We can feel serenity. We can feel love. We can feel stability. The light will shine through. The more we strive to emulate God, and the more we strive to give and to love and to share. Imagine you're about to become angry at somebody, and you stop and say, wait, God is slow to anger, so I have to be slow to anger. I actually have the potential to turn my potential of anger into a spiritual experience, into an uplifting connection to God. Let the light shine through. Our ancestors lived and died inspiring us with their optimism, their belief in the glorious future of the Jewish people. In fact, they would sing Shir Hamalos before grace after meals each time. We would sing a song. Jerusalem is going to be rebuilt. We sang even in times of darkness. They inspired us, whether it was in Yiddish or any language that Jews spoke. They said the same words. Sei a guter Yid. Be a good Jew. The Talmud tells a beautiful story about the great sage Hillel. A man came to him and said, "Teach me the entire Torah while I'm standing on one foot." And Hillel responded, "My desani lach lechaverch lo savid. That which is hated to you, don't do to your friend." And the rest is commentary. Now, looking at this story of the Talmud, there is a lot that needs to be explained. What about the rest of the Torah? What about all of the 613 glorious commandments of God? The rest is commentary. I'd like to share with you a beautiful message about the holiday of Shavuos, which is coming up very soon. The holiday of Shavuos commemorates the giving of the Torah. It commemorates revelation on Mount Sinai. It commemorates the giving of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments begin with the words, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem, your God. The Talmud asks a question about the usage of the word Anochi for I. Usually in Hebrew, the word I is ani, meaning I. What is the message of the word Anochi? And the Talmud explains that the letters of Anochi actually carry with it a stirring message. Aleph, Nun, Chaf, Yod. Ano, Nafshis, Kasvis, Yahavis. I have written and given my soul, that which is inside me, that which is my essence, I have put into the Torah and I have presented it to you. The Torah, the essence of the Torah, is the essence of who God is. And who is God? God is compassionate. God is loving. God is giving. God is tolerant. God is slow to anger. God is pursuing truth. That is the essence of God, and God says to us, this is all in the Torah. So now the holiday of Shavuos is approaching, and we want to find the light in a world of darkness. We want to learn how to share, how to give, how to love, and how to focus on the glorious ability within each and every one of us to give. How do we get there? Emulate God. Look at God's beautiful world and emulate his compassion and love. And above all, study his Torah. Because whatever we study in God's Torah will all lead us to the essence of God. Kindness, compassion, and love. And that's why you will find that the greater the Torah scholar, the greater the compassion and the love. That's why you'll find someone like Rabbi Aryeh Levine, a great Torah giant. When his wife was sick, she was having an ailment with her foot. They went to the doctor, and he says, our foot hurts. That's why a Torah giant scholar like the great Rabbi Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory, somebody gave him a ride in a car, and as Rabbi Feinstein was leaving the car, this young man, without even realizing it, smashed the door on the rabbi's finger. Not a sound. No expression of pain. And those who saw it afterwards couldn't understand. And they asked the rabbi, how could that be? Your hand, your finger. And he says, but the person gave me a ride. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. It was an accident. How does the great Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Yisro Meir of Cohen of blessed memory, how does he achieve such greatness where somebody, a stranger, who he never met before in his life, came to him and told him about a serious illness, and how, without the person ever knowing, the person was cured because of the Chafetz Chaim's prayers, because the Chafetz Chaim fasted for 40 days in a row in prayer for God to heal this person. Where does this compassion, this love come from? It comes from the Torah. And this compassion and love can be part of us and part of our essence. If we emulate God and pursue the beauty of studying Torah, and we rejoice as we pursue that beauty. And the more we study God's Torah, and the more we strive to emulate, the more joy we will feel, even if the world is dark around us. And like our ancestors before us, we will experience so much joy that we will even sing as they did of a glorious future to come for the Jewish people. Have a beautiful Shavuos Yom Tov.